Welcome. This is the Raleigh Municipal Lighting Plant Board of Commissioners meeting, May 7th, 2013. And we are being audio and video recorded. The first item on the agenda is review and approve meeting minutes from previous meeting if available. Okay. I do have on the February 12th minutes in the third sentence. I don't know. So they were interested in property now, how it.
Oh yeah, that's.
So I think it's just probably a typo.
Yes. Yep.
Does everybody else have a chance to read them?
Yep.
Any questions, changes, alterations?
Nope.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion and we accept the minutes of the previous meeting.
I'll second that meeting. Second that vote.
A motion and a second to accept the February 12th, 2013 Commissioners meeting minutes. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And sign off your vote, please. Thank you. Okay, the next set of minutes is April 9th, 2013 Commissioners meeting. Has everybody had a chance to read them?
Yep.
Any changes, errors, omissions? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion and accept those two.
I'll second that meeting.
Okay, motion made and seconded to accept the minutes of April 9th, 2013, and I will excuse myself because I was absent.
Yeah.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Item number 2 on the agenda, 2013 operations and maintenance budget.
At the last commissioners meeting, we talked about, actually 2 meetings ago, we talked about actually coming up with a budget, operations maintenance budget for the Raleigh Municipal Light Plant, same as there was none in the past years. At the last meeting, the commissioners approved to form the actual budget that I presented. And
Okay.
this, what you have in front of you is the actual budget that I'll be using going forward for this year with the actual numbers as they relate to what we've actually expended for the year in the actual FERC account numbers. On the first page is the actual summary, on the second page is the actual amounts expended by line item, FERC account number. I'll give you a minute to look it over if you'd like, but I'd like, when you're done, to approve the budget. Unless there's any changes.
Purchase power right now, huh?
Well, we hope it will do,
Yeah.
because that's actually, the figure you're seeing on the end there is what's remaining.
Right.
And we're halfway through the year, so it's about right.
Yeah, it's budgeted for 4.1 million for the year.
Dan?
Yes.
Excuse me, Bob Snow, 7 Saunders Lane. First one, merchandising and jobbing. That's,
It's money we take in from developments that we do work for.
okay.
Yep, and that would be that and other electric revenues. Those two items are work that we do for outside vendors, or for outside, like,
Contractors.
yeah,
Yeah,
it would
contractors.
be like Raleigh Country Club or the development on Main Street.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
Looks good. Good to me, Dan.
I'll make a motion, Bob, we all set?
Yeah, is there any discussion from the board?
Yeah. Looks good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Make a motion and we accept the Raleigh Municipal Light Plant operating budget for 2013.
And I'll second that motion.
Okay, motion made and seconded to accept the manager's operating and maintenance budget for fiscal year, actually year 2013. We run on a little different
On the calendar year.
calendar year instead of fiscal year, yes. That's kind of how to keep straight.
Yeah, yeah, especially when dealing with the town and different issues,
Yeah.
it can be a little confusing.
So we run on a yearly basis, so. Okay, motion made and seconded, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you. And I will give you periodic updates on the budget, probably quarterly. I'll give you a sheet that looks just like that with just the updated numbers on it, just so you can see where we're at as far as the budget goes.
Okay. Item number 3, solar project on Central Street.
This has been a ongoing, I don't want to use the right term, discussion with the proposed solar array on Central Street behind the Country Gardens. And we've had some bumps in the road with negotiations. The most recent talk about the PPA price has been, and I know we had talked about at the last meeting of a 6-cent PPA with a 2% escalator. We've negotiated back and forth a little bit, and what the final number would be a 6.5 cent PPA rate and a 2% escalator for the 20 years. It does increase the cost to our ratepayers over the 20 years, but the expected price of power in 20 years is, we're gonna be right where we wanna be, even with the 2% escalator in the price. I will not go any higher than the 6.5 cent, because to me, financially, it's not worth it, it's not feasible for us to go any higher than that, especially with an escalator. So we're finalizing the PPA agreement with the Capital Energy Partners. And we've had some hiccups with that, and I've gone to the lawyer and I've asked him to look over the PPA and make sure that everything's correct and make sure that everything that needs to be in there is in there. And what he came back with is some edits that he made to the purchase power agreement, which I had sent along to Capital Energy Partners. We had a conference call with Capital Energy Partners, and there was a little pushback on certain things that were required in the contract. One of them is a letter of credit from Capital Energy Partners, just to make us more secure if they ever defaulted, if they ever, they didn't finish the project, or they didn't furnish the energy required. And there's some pushback from them on that. So what we asked from Capital Energy Partners, because they're not actually the ones that are going to be building the project, they're going to finance it with somebody else.
Yeah.
What we asked of them is to give us the audited financial statements of the company that's actually going to finance the project. So when they did that, both the lawyer and myself looked at those audited financial statements and said, this doesn't give us a warm fuzzy feeling at all.
No.
So I'm teetering on the edge of kicking the project down the road and starting over again. Only because it doesn't give me a warm fuzzy feeling of who's backing the actual project. I've talked to the lawyer about this, and they say, once the agreement's signed, they're bound and obligated to supply that to us. So that's what I'm having a hard job with. And, they've been very lackluster in getting us information. Right now, we're still dealing with information that's required for the interconnection agreement. And basically, that's going to be the straw that broke the camel's back. If they don't get the interconnection agreement finalized from what they need to give us for information, the inverter specs, the transformer, the one-line diagram, the whole thing, then basically I'm going to wash my hands of the deal and we're going to move on. Because it's not worth our time and money to keep prolonging the process, and especially since there are other vendors out there who have that act together who could probably get it done sooner.
Yeah. My feeling is that if there's anything near that'll hurt our customers, we can't be involved. I mean, these companies, some of them at least, don't have all that great a track record.
Mm-hmm.
I know they put the big one up in Salisbury. Within 2 years, it was sold. So, we got to protect ourselves when those things happen. I'm sure the contract will make it carry forward, but if these people just turn around and walk away, we've got this investment that we've done to our plant to accept this, and there's nothing coming through. I mean, we've got to take care of the customers.
Mm-hmm.
To me, what you're saying is, I would consider that a deal breaker if we didn't establish what we need.
Mm-hmm. The whole plan is to Capital Energy Partners. I mean, the whole plan of Capital Energy Partners is to walk away as soon as this is done and assign it to somebody else.
Yes, and that's fine. That's what their business is.
That's what their business
But,
is, right?
Can we trust the people they're assigning it to?
That's the big question.
Yes, exactly.
So,
Well, I think you're right. If we don't get all the information, shut them off.
okay. I just wanted to be everybody on board, just so when I actually make the final decision, which may come in the next few days, that I'll let you know either by email what's happening. I feel bad because it's gone on for so long that it's June of last year.
Yeah.
I think it was June of last year. The whole process started, and it's been going on since then. And
I know we had problems right from the start. I think that they weren't going to really give us the bonding that we felt we needed. I know that was a big issue for a while.
mm-hmm.
So,
Okay. That's where we're at. And I feel that, especially what happened with town meeting last night, that the town has passed bylaw changes to the conservation bylaw that may open up property for us to do a solar array, maybe on even town-owned property,
Yeah.
which would make...
it's that we really can't stop it because of state and federal law.
Mm-hmm.
But what the planning board felt was they needed to be able to look at it. So what they got to submit is a site plan. And this planning board can work on the access and entrances and safety concerns and setbacks and those types of things. We really can't deny somebody that's viable from putting in the solar project.
Okay.
But at least we'll have a way to look at it and make some decisions. At least do a little negotiation.
Yeah, okay.
So,
I think we ought to start looking into having a cap on how many can be put in.
well, I mean, it's going to get to a point where the system's not going to be able to handle it.
Right.
And we definitely need to keep an eye on that, and they have to supply us with the technical information in order for us to be able to do that. So we need to keep an eye on that very closely.
Dan, what are the
Yes.
safety concerns on the interconnect?
On a large-scale solar array, say the one proposed at Country Gardens would be how it affects our distribution system and our customers. If, for instance, for some reason the inverter didn't kick off when the power went out, they're generating a lot of megawatt hours back to us that can either cause safety concerns for the linemen if they're out working on the line. It can create voltage problems in the system if it's not done properly, if the transformer is not sized properly, things of that nature. On the residential side, it's more how it affects the local distribution system with the secondaries, the crib for the customers, the transformer in that location, and that, because you can get different varying voltages out of the solar array that would affect the customers on that crib. So that's what we have to really look out for. And of course, the loading on the circuit, because if at the substation at, I wanted to say Burnside Lane, but I'm thinking of Merrimack, at Dodge Road, we have actually relays in the breakers that will actually say if there's reverse power flow, the breaker trips off, so we lose that whole circuit. So we have to do a lot of internal planning to make sure that everything that's generated from that solar array is used up in that distribution circuit, because if it's not and a problem happens inside, then the whole circuit goes down.
Okay.
Which the circuit that Country Gardens will be on feeds Central Street, part of Weathersfield, all of Route 1. So you're talking about the industrial section of town. So we don't want to lose, those are some of our high priority customers in that section of town. So
An array like that, how megawatts would it?
Central Street is 2 megawatts.
2 megawatts?
Yeah. Yeah, that's 2 megawatts DC, so about, I think it's 1.8 or 1.9 megawatts AC.
Okay. That's why you need the inverter to come back and the AC.
The inverter creates the AC power through a transformer that steps it up. It comes out of the array at 480 volts DC.
Okay.
480 volts AC, and then it's transformed up to 13.2 for the distribution circuit.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, any other discussion on the solar project? Nope. Okay. Item number 4, terms and conditions review.
The last couple of meetings it's been on the agenda, and I've distributed a copy of the new terms and conditions that I proposed. And I've asked for edits or comments on those, and I haven't heard anything, but one last question about edits and comments to those before we actually go on to accept them.
Yeah, I've actually got a chance to read them and have made some notes. And I guess on page 2, under section 4, the last paragraph, and it's just for my own information, what is a Cromwell waiver?
Oh, you had to ask. A Cromwell waiver has to do with a customer who was a previous customer who was what's the politically correct to say this? Not very well paying customer who moved out of that place and moved into another place in the same town.
Okay.
So it's an agreement that they have to repay their previous balance. I believe that's what it's, and I can get the exact definition of it.
No, I mean, that's fine. I'd never heard of a Cromwell waiver.
I didn't, until I saw it in here, I had to look it up.
Years ago, we just called them a bad customer and something, you can't do anything until you pay us.
So,
And also, under section 6, paragraph A, it's 1, 2, 3, the 4th sentence down. It says, acceptable to and approved, and I think we should add the word by there,
yeah.
by the light department. If everybody agrees. Okay. Now, on page 3, section 8. It says, I may be not reading this correctly, but it's the department may seal such service equipment and meter mounting device, and adjust, set, and seal such oil circuit breaker, and such seal shall not be broken, and such adjustments or settings shall not be changed or in any way interfered with by the department.
Probably should say customer.
I thought that might be the answer to that, because I think this paragraph talks about the department making the adjustments to the equipment originally.
Yep.
Okay. And if everybody agrees with that one, I can go to the next one, which is paragraph 10, section 10, and it's the last sentence. And it's equipment and to, I'm not sure, is that, I don't know what that word is. It's conductors. Is it C-N-A-B-L-E or? My printing's pretty small here.
To enable, necessary to give the department or its agents access to the customer's equipment and to enable its customers.
Okay, so that's an E that's there?
Yeah, it's an E.
I didn't print that clear. Okay, that's fine then. And section 12. And I guess I got a question mark, payment of commitment for a term of years. I don't know why I made a question mark there, but I did. Customer to guarantee a minimum annual payment of commitment. Is that committing to, I guess I just don't understand what it means.
I think it's, what it's referring to as a payment plan. If we have, let's say, Country Gardens, not Country Gardens, sorry, Raleigh Country Club comes in, they have a bill of, let's say, $20,000 to install.
Mm-hmm.
That's the commitment, and what it would be is annual payments, to allow them to make annual payments on that commitment.
Up to a certain time
Up to a
frame.
certain time frame.
Okay, no, that's fine. Protection of company property. Right, so I believe this is talking about possibly tampering,
Mm-hmm.
and what I would like maybe to think about is to, per the DPU requirements, which we have to follow anyway, but there is a state law that allows us treble damages.
Okay.
Do we want to cite that law in this paragraph? No, I
if
know
it's,
another paragraph's in the document, we do cite state law on occasion.
okay.
Probably cost you more to prosecute them.
Well, you get treble damages, and that's the issue. I mean, you can
Yeah,
get 3 times as much what you estimate they used. So, I mean, that, and if it's in the requirements, then they see that, they're gonna understand that if they try to play around, you know, it's gonna be a consequence.
Yeah.
I will ask,
Okay,
and I will get that information, and I will send you a proposed edit for that.
okay. Let's see. On page 5, paragraph 15. We have to have service restored, the customer must first pay a dollar reconnection fee.
Oh, yes, I need to fill that in.
No, and I understand that.
Okay.
I wrote a note to myself, applicable that time and subject to change. Applicable at that time. I think we wanted to maybe just add that in there, because once we put the amount in there, it's not changeable.
Okay.
If we wanted to change it, at some point, we'd have to rewrite the,
It'd be a vote of the board
right.
to rechange it, yeah.
So, I mean, but if we added applicable at the time of,
Okay.
time and subject to change, then it would be the time that attack took place. And if we changed the amount, then it would be that amount rather than the amount that's printed. Does that make sense?
At time of approval?
Yeah, well, if applicable, once we charge the customer, if we actually wanted to change the amount, it would be the amount that was applicable at the time that we wanted to charge it.
Okay,
And then we can also add the word subject to change,
okay.
or
Right.
however you want to do it then. I mean,
Yep.
You don't have to use my words.
Okay.
but you could change without notice or whatever, something like that, so that, you see that a lot in legal documents,
Yeah.
so. Let's see. I've got another one down, it's, 4 sentences down from that, and charge to customers is the beginning of the sentence. I'm trying to figure out why. Lower is, or is after 164 allows. Why would I like that? Tampering to investigate the change calculation authority and administrative costs will be charged to the customer. I guess that's what it was, the administrative costs.
Okay.
Does 164 address that, do you know? Or any state law for that matter?
I can check. Whereabouts are you in that paragraph? Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm actually from the, where we have the customer must pay $8. It's 1, 2, 3, 4 sentences down, and it begins with charged to the customer. It's actually part of it. It's the next sentence after that, the first one we've discussed. In addition to charges for electricity used but not
Okay.
needed as a result of the tampering, all costs attributed to investigation of the tampering, calculation of amounts owed, and any administrative costs will be charged to the customer.
Okay.
And I was wondering if 64 actually covered that, or whether we were just kind of adding it in our own.
I'll check on that.
And then we obviously need to fill in the amount of the check under section 22.
Mm-hmm. And that's $35 Art, for reconnection during the day. What I may do is add in there also the after hours reconnection fee, because that's not in here. And it's $35 during the day.
It's 20 to go out, 25 to be reconnected, and
Okay.
100 after hours.
Okay.
Or is it
25.
150? I have to look at the
Yeah.
schedule.
Okay.
And section
That
22
covers
is
the
actually,
time and everything.
Yeah, and then that's all on the, actually back of the second notice that we send to customers. It addresses that on that notice.
and the one I was looking at is the customer bounce check fee.
Yep.
So
That's another one.
That one needs to get filled in.
Mm-hmm.
Seven, where is 6? 6 is right there. Okay, paragraph 23, and it's actually on page 7. Paragraph 23 starts on page 6. And it says pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 164, Section 58, the department's rates and terms and conditions are subject to change. And I would just like, you might want to think about maybe adding with notice. So if we make a change, terms and conditions, at least they'll be notified of that.
Notified to the customers?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's because of rates. And actually, basically, I think even with, didn't give a chapter, but I think we have to have a public hearing anyway. Actually, section 58.
Okay, I'll have to take a look at
I
that.
think that might be the public hearing.
So the terms and conditions?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But I mean, maybe I'm thinking of rates themselves, but, because it does say department's rates and terms and conditions. So if we're gonna change the rates, we definitely need to make public notice.
Yep.
And the last, that's 7. Okay. Page 8, paragraph 30. And the department may provide, provided as spare generating and transmission capacity, supply electricity for trial purposes, and other than its regular rates. The period of the trial has to be no longer than necessary, and I just wrote a question mark there. I'm not sure what that would be.
Well, for instance would be, I'll use Groveland as a for instance. Mike had a Superfund site in Groveland. and it was they needed to go in there on a temporary basis, and it was a commercial type, not that they were gonna use commercial. They're actually gonna heat the ground with electrodes,
Mhm.
and they had to establish that temporary rate for that customer, just for that 6 months period of time whenever they were gonna be in there.
Okay,
So this allows us to have that trial period to establish that rate, to do that, and not go to the DPU and say, well, I think we have to publish the rate anyway, but it allows us to do that.
yeah, okay. No, I just didn't, I couldn't quite figure out why we would have a trial period for something, but perfectly fine. I mean, that's exactly what you need to do.
Okay.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, we got one more. And guess what? That's it.
Okay.
Does anybody else have anything? Now that I've dominated the conversation.
I think you covered it all, Bob.
All right, Kenny, anything, or
Nope,
Okay.
I've got anything off good.
I will make corrections, edits, and,
And I actually knew, Dan, that Eric was making sure that I read it. Because I didn't come up with those, he'd have known I hadn't read it, so.
I will send you a revised copy with the edits, and I'll highlight them just so you can see everything that's been
Okay,
edited, and I will make some contacts and
Yeah.
get some questions answered on these, and I'll get back to you at the next meeting.
that'd be great.
Okay.
Find my agenda. Okay, is there anything else about the terms and conditions? Anybody got any comment?
No.
Okay. We can move on to the next agenda item, which is number 5, board communications.
I just wanted to bring this up just as a general topic, just to talk about, has the communications that I've been given to the board acceptable? Is there any other communication means that you want me to do? Or has everything been pretty good with the board as far as the emails that I've been sending out? Do you want more notification, less notification?
I have no problem, I think you've been doing a good job.
Yeah,
Yeah, I find your emails, one thing you'll find from me is it'll be very short responses. Only because emails, as you know, are public documents. So I'm not gonna get into a debate type situation. I will acknowledge that I have received them,
Right.
but that'll be about it.
Well, since you brought up that topic, I will not, if somebody sent me back a response, that I will not get back to you, because that is, that's a conversation that should be left to a board meeting. What I'm sending you is informational purposes
Notifications,
and notifications, that's all it is.
Which is fine, that's legal.
Okay, Yep.
Because you cannot deliberate
no,
any actions, so.
No.
Some people don't understand that.
no, I know, it's
They
one of
wonder why you
those-
don't respond back to them, and it's because I don't wanna have a trail.
Yep. Okay, I'm happy with that.
Okay? And is there any other comments on the board communications? Hearing none, the next agenda item is DPU report. And I guess I do have the original here. Has everybody had a chance to look through it?
I haven't seen anything, it's okay to me.
Oh, yeah.
yeah, I'm fine.
I'm pleased, Dan, that the purchase power rate has come down a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And also some of the rate categories that we had will also come down. I noticed, I had a question before about the municipal rate. I noticed that came down about 4 cents, which is, that's a good thing. I think we're heading in the right direction. I realize you've only, this is the 2000, so it came out in December, basically closed in December, and you only started in November. So as a member of the board, I'm very pleased that you were able to get us a handle on that before the end of the year. So appreciate that very much.
You won't.
We wanna accept that, DPU report?
No, Ken's still
Mm.
doing his homework here.
Hmm?
You're still doing your homework.
No, no. No,
So is there any other discussion on the DP report?
No.
If not, I'll entertain a motion to accept the filing for the Department of Public Utilities.
All right, make the motion and we accept the report, DPU report.
And I'll second the motion.
Motion made and seconded to accept the DP report for
DP
filing
report.
with the Department of Public Utilities. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Would anybody like a fully signed copy, or is everybody happy with? Bob, I can make you a copy because that's mine, but,
No, this is fine. Yeah, no, I'm gonna give this back to you.
okay.
Yeah. No, this is even, so that'll be the official one.
Kenny, I'm gonna need you to sign that again. You signed it in the wrong spot the first time.
You can't be the manager.
Really wanna get ahead fast.
Does it matter?
Thank you, Ken.
Gentlemen?
Thank you. Okay, item number 7, managers review.
I just wanted to remind the board that my 6 months is June, and that we need to start talking about what we're gonna do as far as my review,
Yes.
whether it be the June meeting, and
If you don't mind, I think the contract basically says June 1st.
Mhm.
If you wanted to, if you don't mind doing it on the first meeting, that would be a good time to do it.
Okay. No, I don't mind at all. I just wanted to bring it up and just to remind the board that it's coming up and.
Yeah. No, I had thought about it. I got it on my calendar.
Okay.
I
Is
didn't
that
want-
good or bad? Is it
No,
red or is it
no,
black?
Believe me, Dan, it's good, because I didn't
Okay.
want to forget.
Okay.
I mean, we promised it to you when we hired you,
Mhm.
and then we did the review and checked what we could clarify, and I didn't want to forget that.
Okay, awesome. All right.
Sometimes those things have a way of just kind of disappearing.
That's why I'll put it on the agenda generally the month before, just so it's a reminder, so everybody realizes it's coming up.
Mm.
Yeah, very good.
Okay. Is there any information or anything that you want from me prior to the meeting? That way, for informational purposes, I'll probably get you some.
Well, if you could, maybe, I know we had some goals and things like that set, and if you could kind of tell us, maybe give us a small narrative. You don't need to write a book, but a narrative on, you know, how things have been going and what's been accomplished and what we might need to be looking at in the future.
All right. Is there any information as far as salaries that you need from me, like the mean survey, or do you want that up before the meeting, or?
Is that up to date? I know we had it when we were actually interviewing this, so I don't know if they've updated a little bit.
It's generally October, so it's not, it's pretty much, you may or may not have the most recent one, so what I'll do is I'll get you.
Why don't you put
one.
it in the package?
Okay.
That way we can at least look at it and see what's going on out there.
Mm.
I'm just thinking, well, it might be good in the future to, probably give the manager a 3-year contract instead of that every year.
We can look into that.
I'd just like to get the guys coming in on that one.
Okay,
That's all I had.
okay, anything else with the plant or system operations going good? I see you got Central Street pretty much squared away.
Central Street, there's only a couple more things that we need to do, Raleigh Ready Mix and Karen Summers line are the only 2 things left for the final conversion of Central Street. And then we'll be ready to go for the solar project and the final conversion for that, to 13.2 for that street.
That's been a long haul, but
Excuse me.
Mm.
I am much pleased that it's finally taken place, because I worked on it for a number of years.
Excuse me.
Trying to get it done. And of course, the center of town being the most congested, and it was all 5 KB, because we didn't do any new construction too much down in this area. And it was one of the goals that we had set, and unfortunately, funds weren't there. So we did what we could, but I'm very pleased that it's finally coming to fruition.
And the guys do a nice job. They're actually on it, and I'm pleased to say that, Mark takes care of all that, and he lines up the jobs, and he takes care of making sure that the guys are working on that.
Yeah.
And we have conversations almost every day as far as what's going on,
Good.
where the guys are working, what's next, so
Mhm.
that's been good.
Good, yeah.
And then also, finishing Central Street conversion will give us the opportunity to spread that solar array around, because we can actually feed it, instead of feeding back, because Central Street, the circuit ends by Raleigh Reading Mix at
Mhm.
13.2.
Yeah.
So if we didn't have the tie-in, it would feed back towards the substation down Route 1, down Weathersfield, and down that way on
Yeah.
circuit, I think it's circuit 4. When we finish this tie, we'll be able to actually feed it back around down Main Street and down that way and pick up those customers on the solar array as well. So that'll distribute the load a lot more,
Good.
which will be a lot better for them.
And it's much better when we have switching to
Mhm.
how we control, so.
Yeah, I mean, the guys just hung an air brake at the corner of, I think it's Central Street, Main Street.
Yes.
That's what they
Yeah.
are this morning.
Yeah, so they're tapping that up this morning, so that'll be done, so we'll be able to switch around and tie different circuits together that way.
Good. That was our main goal 40 years ago. Unfortunately, when I took over as manager in 1980, I had 250,000 in the depreciation account.
It's substantially more than that now.
I know, when I left, I had about 2 million. But it was one of those things, I mean, it was just one of those, it was nip and tuck, and we were trying to do the best we could with what we had to work with. And,
Mhm.
so I'm glad to see it's finally coming together.
It is, and the system's in really good shape. There are a few areas around town that I don't think I've seen all of them yet, but there are a few in town that are gonna need some work on some pole lines that are in need of some maintenance, but there are a lot of other things going on. I mean, the projects that come into town, billing is great for the town and for the departments, but it also ties up the crews,
Yes.
getting them away from maintenance issues, so
Yeah.
we have to walk that line. But it keeps the guys busy, so, which is good.
Good, good, yeah, and
Mhm.
unfortunately, those things we have to get replaced, so it keeps it going.
Yeah.
Keeps the crews going, that's great. Okay,
Yep.
there's nothing else?
Make a motion, we adjourn?
Make a motion, we adjourn.
I'll second that.
Okay, that's what you said. This will be your last one, huh, Dave?
Yeah, okay, I think we got a motion on the floor to adjourn, so I guess all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried, we are adjourned, thank you very much.
We are adjourned.
Thank you, gentlemen.